In this video, I'm going to show you how to make dry fruits and nuts ladoo. To make the dry fruits and nut ladoo, I'm taking a bit of ghee. So a couple of spoons of ghee is good enough. I'm using homemade ghee, so that definitely is the best option. You don't need to cook this an awful lot, so the ghee will start melting quite quickly. And I have got chopped almonds, walnut, and what else did I put in there? That's about it for today. I am going to add some seeds as well. I've got a mixture of 4 seeds, so I thought I'd add that as well today. This recipe is quite forgiving in terms of what you really add to it. There's no hard and fast rule really. So I'm going to fry the nuts to start with. There's not an awful lot of cooking in this recipe, and if you want to add sugar, you could add a couple of spoons of brown sugar, but I try and avoid added sugar because all the nuts, the fruits, dry fruits themselves have natural sugar in them. The natural sugar in dry fruits is supposed to be not as bad as the free sugar, as we say, called the white sugar or even the brown sugar to some degree, because of the fiber content of the dry fruits. And dry fruits are quite intense in calories, so while they are good for the body, if you are counting your calories, you might want to watch how much you eat as well. So keeping the heat on medium flame, I'm just frying it until the nuts just warm up. So the nuts have warmed up. I'm going to add a handful of seeds. I've just got a mixture of seeds. It has golden linseed, brown linseed, pumpkin seeds, and sunflower seeds. So the quantity really depends on how much dry fruits you have, because these are rather dry ingredients, and if you add too much of these, be it the nuts or the seeds, you will not have enough wet ingredients to make the balls or the ladoos. So now I'm going to add, I've reduced the flame now, I'm going to add the dry fruits. So what I've done is taken a bit of few figs, like 5 or 6 figs, and raisins. I bought chopped dates because I was a bit lazy, you can say. And except for the dates, everything else I just put in my chopper, which is a mechanical chopper. The reason I do that is so that it cuts open the dry fruits and lends a bit of stickiness, so that when you make the ladoos, you can actually make balls and it holds shape. So again, there's not much for you to cook here. I would just wait for it to all become a bit moist. Because of the heat, the sugars will give away a wee bit in the dry fruits. Now I have noticed that if I used the block dates, which is seedless, that I get in the supermarket, it does work quite well because it has the right level of moisture. Now what has happened here is, because I've bought dates that are chopped and meant for baking, they have been covered in rice flour. So you can see that's because they don't want the dates to sink in the cake while you bake. So that's why they've done that. But it'll still work for our recipe. You'll know soon enough. If you want to make a vegan version of this dish, you can substitute the ghee with oil, sunflower oil, because it's quite bland, doesn't have a lot of flavor to it. So I'm just adding 1 more spoon of ghee and trying to get all these together. And then all that we left to do is make them into balls. If you find that you have too many dry ingredients like the nuts and seeds, it's not the end of the world. You can just chop up a few more dry fruits. The proportions don't really matter much. It depends on your preference. If you like a lot of figs, then add more figs. If you like raisins, just add more of the raisins. So it's really your preference. The idea is for you to understand that you can just make sweet things without having to use sugar and without necessarily damaging your body, but everything in moderation. So ideally you just want it to cool a wee bit before making the laddus, just so that you can handle it. But I think it's just about cool enough, and I need to run for the school run. So there you go. I'm just taking whatever size I want it. So I don't want it too big or too small. So there you go. That's my dry fruits laddu with wonderful goodness coming from the seeds, from the nuts. I have found walnuts to be far more palatable if I add them to fruits. So I've started eating them along with banana and cut apples. But this is also another way to have it. It is quite warm, the bottom part. So don't burn yourself. Now I'll make the rest of the laddus just like how I showed you. Because I've put the ghee, that's why it's a bit more sticky and it's all staying together. So if you don't want ghee, like I said, just add sunflower oil. So that's it. That's about 200 grams of dates, a couple of handful of raisins, and then 5 or 6 figs chucked in, sort of blended, not necessarily finely, just coarsely, and then 3 handfuls of chopped nuts and a couple of handfuls of seeds of my choice. You could skip the seeds if that's not something you like. The nuts definitely add another dimension to it, but obviously if someone is allergic, then you could avoid that and just stick with the seeds and the dry fruits, or just even the dry fruits. I hope you get to try this, and Diwali is just around the corner, so this is one of the easy sweets that you can make for your family. Enjoy!